think Cecilia said when you were talking with her earlier about the race that Donald Trump had done well despite these controversial comments. He's doing well because of these controversial comments. Now, I do think he has a limit on how well he will do because ultimately you can't win a presidential nomination just saying outrageous things. But he has tapped into real sentiments, and the Republican Party needs to channel those sentiments. Rick Perry handled it fine. I don't agree with you. Republicans have done fine handling Trump. Rick Perry said, just talking to you, look, I don't agree with him. He shouldn't have said what he said. But then he got right back on his message. So they can incorporate the Trump message.
But you've had folks like Ted Cruz defend him, Bill.
Fine, you know what? It's a diverse party. It's a diverse party. It is a diverse party. You know what? Some people are very upset about illegal immigrants who do actually murder people. You know, he probably won't be the nominee because he is irresponsible in things that he says and sometimes says distasteful things. On the other hand, you know, there's something impressive about some of what he says. There's a certain kind of common sense that we should be tough and strong, and what he's ridiculed by the mainstream media. I give you a lot of credit for pretending to be disapproving of him when obviously you've enjoyed the interview, and obviously you found him 10 times more interesting than every single politician you've ever interviewed.
I've said that publicly. I enjoy talking to him.
You have done a great job, but I mean, Gloria and John King are being serious, and he should learn some things about politics. You can't get away with this. He knows what he's doing. And look, at the end of the day, the Republican Party is a big tent. There's plenty of room for Donald Trump. There's plenty of room for the establishment politicians who will disapprove of what Donald Trump says and will distinguish themselves from Donald Trump. It's good for the party to have him in. Lively. One reason I do like it, because I am not pro-Trump. I'm slightly anti-Trump because I'm so sick of all the establishment types being so earnest and disdaining him. And this serves the Republican Party right.
Just yesterday, you did a brief interview with ABC News calling him older, wiser, richer Donald Trump would be better than Hillary. Still think that?
I think he's still older and richer than Hillary. Though if she gives a few more speeches, maybe she'll catch up. But no, I don't think that anymore, actually. I think it's one thing. He was a controversial character who said some useful things, I think, and brought some people into the Republican tent. But he jumped the shark yesterday. He's dead to me.
Trump, you know, everyone smart to second-guess Trump. He shouldn't have said this. He shouldn't have done that. And it seems like every time he does one of these things, it doesn't hurt him. And we have a good piece coming in the magazine next week on Trump, and really making the point that, in a way, that all the conventional political analysis of him is wrong. You know, the conventional analysis is when he says not only should we build a border wall, but we should make Mexico pay for it, right? And the conventional wisdom is even for border hawks like you and me, probably say, well, come on, Mexico's not going to pay for it. But in a way, that's precisely what people love.
Absolutely.
That he's willing to stick it to our adversaries and to the people who are taking advantage of us.
We'll look for it in the magazine. Should Trump apologize, by the way, to Megyn Kelly for this?
Yeah, he should just go on doing his thing.
Gotcha. Bill, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. The establishment candidates aren't doing too well in that poll.
No.
Make that point. I don't know what's going on in Massachusetts. Barney can speak for that state. Look, I think things are going according to plan, as I told you before we got on the air. Paul Ryan is going to be Speaker of the House. That's an upgrade from John Boehner and, frankly, an upgrade from Kevin McCarthy, so that's fine. Joe Biden's not running. I think he would have been the strongest Democratic nominee. Biden-Warren would have been the best ticket. That's not happening. Now there's this Trump thing going on, I gather. He's doing okay in the polls for a while, but he's not going to be the nominee either. So we'll be fine. We'll be fine. The Rubio ticket's going to win in November. Everyone should calm down. The establishment, can I say the establishment having totally ignored Trump. I mean, I'm not pro-Trump, but I did write an editorial 4 months ago saying take Trump seriously. The establishment having ignored Trump for 3 or 4 months is now in total panic because they've looked up and there are a few polls that show him nationally at 28%.
A few?
Or in one, yes, a few. Well, every poll shows him at 28%. He's not going to be the nominee. Joe, do you want to bet? Joe, you keep saying it.
I have a bet.
What?
Nothing.
I will bet anyone on the stage a nice dinner that Donald Trump is not going to be the nominee. It's Joe loves saying, oh, well, you guys are all underestimating Trump. Joe, do you think he's going to be the nominee?
No.
Okay,
we can show you a clip after clip after clip after clip of your incorrect predictions about Donald Trump and your prediction of his imminent collapse.
I didn't predict his collapse. I thought he had peaked a little early.
The establishment
Joe
has been wrong. And so my question for you now, Bill, that everybody is waking up to the fact that he actually could win this thing.
He's not going to win the thing, Joe.
Well, we don't know whether he is or not, and that's the mistake the media has been making, and that's the mistake you've been making is maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. We don't know. But what does the Republican establishment do at this point to stop Donald Trump? A man who has 48% in Massachusetts, who's running away with it in Oklahoma, who's running away with it in Nevada, South Carolina, Connecticut. in all demographic groups. How does the Republican establishment come together and stop him?
Look, you and I agree on this. The Republican establishment is pitiful. Most of what they do to try to stop him will probably help him. They should support who they think should be president. This idea that you stop someone is ridiculous. If they think Marco Rubio should be president, they should get behind Marco Rubio. If they think Kasich should be president, they should support Kasich.
You don't think any of them should be taking him on? You think they should let all of his? I mean, he's basically a 9/11 truther.
They should learn.
You think they let that stand? Do you think they say, "Are
it's
those
fine
really?"
if people want to put up ads, and I think
Not ads, but I mean, should they be engaging him in the media?
they should make their own case for why they should be president of the United States.
They should keep rolling out policy and let
Not
Trump
policy.
stay at
They should have a
48%.
vision for America. Why has Trump hit a nerve? Because he wants to. He says he wants to make America.
Bill,
They don't.
and
Well,
that's why
the
he might
problem.
win.
Well, if all the other candidates remain, as pathetic as they've been so far, I suppose it's conceivable.
There you go.
He'll
My
be the
particle,
nominee, and then we'll have
please.
to support a third party.
God.
I don't see a path where Donald Trump probably doesn't become the nominee.
Oh,
and
nonsense.
Well, but listen to this, Bill.
Your wishes are ahead of your thoughts here, you know.
That may be true.
Bill Kristol, your thoughts, first of all, on Cruz?
I was actually in Iowa Saturday. I haven't been on the trail as much as Hallie. I would say out there, people I respect think Trump has peaked, that a lot of people are intrigued by Trump. I'm just repeating this so you can laugh. He's not going to win. He's not going to win Iowa. He's not going to win Iowa.
Oh my God.
He'll run third.
You have a bad record on this.
I do not. No one's voted yet. We'll see if I have a bad record.
But you've been saying that
I'll be here February
plateaued
2nd. I'll be here February 2nd, and I will buy you all a very nice breakfast or dinner. If Donald Trump wins Iowa, Donald Trump, in my opinion, people are beginning to think about voting. They'll decide.
So you say what Bill Kristol says when he comes.
Cruz is strong.
So the next
Cruz, Rubio. Look, Trump is a talented demagogue. Cruz, Rubio, and Christie are talented politicians. I have enough faith in the Republican primary electorate. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I have enough faith in the Republican primary electorate that they'll select a talented politician over a talented demagogue.
And Ted Cruz and Donald Trump sitting in Thelma and Louise's seats as that car is heading right off the cliff. As a party.
It's occurred to me. I'm just counting on them to seize the wheel. It's a drama. Politics is drama, Mike. And at the last minute, you seize the wheel, you get back on the road, it has a happy ending.
To you, Ted Cruz said that the time for the circus, I think, is over right now. Does it make the debate on the Republican side somewhat more serious, help any particular candidate?
Yes. Look, there are two things the president does that he does uniquely. He nominates judges, and he's commander-in-chief. Health care, education policy, tax policy, Congress plays a huge role. I think the presidential debate on the Republican side, the choice will now focus much more on who will put good judges on the Supreme Court, who has the knowledge and the temperament and the background where voters can be confident that they'll get good conservative constitutional judges, and which Donald Trump raised squarely last night by saying that George Bush knowingly lied us into the war in Iraq. The Republican primary, it's one thing to say the war was a mistake. Knowingly lied us into the war in Iraq. Are Republican primary voters going to accept this? I believe that Donald Trump's candidacy was dealt. I've said this before and I've been wrong, but I really do believe last night could be a moment where finally Republican voters say enough with the being engaged. Trump's interesting. He's saying some things I like. He's sticking it to those politicians. And finally, maybe people will focus on can and should he be president of the United States? And I think Republican primary voters will say no.
Bill, let me just start with you. You just heard, a Department of Justice tax expert say he would advise Donald Trump to not release his taxes in this particular situation. What do you say?
I think it's ridiculous. Let him release the taxes from 2 years ago where the audit's been completed. What's the reason not to do that?
Well,
Andy?
Bill doesn't understand how taxes work because the statute of limitations for an audit is... Well, clearly you don't, because it's not good advice you're giving Donald Trump.
I'm not in the business of giving advice to Donald Trump. I'm interested in selecting a nominee who's been candid.
Right.
And do you think we should nominate? Andy, do you think we should nominate someone?
Bill,
relax, you're losing it, Bill.
Doing the right thing by not releasing it.
Okay, well, first, we heard from your tax expert that you can't determine somebody's net worth by looking at a tax return. Let's take, for a quick example, Mark Zuckerberg. If we were to look at his tax return, he's worth $35 billion, yet the past couple of years he's drawn a $1 salary. So you would look at his tax return, you would think he would be broke, but on that tax return, you would not see $35 billion
Andy,
in stock.
should Donald Trump release his return? Should Donald Trump release his return or not, eventually? Do the voters have a right?
The audit.
Do the voters have a right to see his return or not?
after the audit, Bill? What part do I have to repeat?
What if the audit goes?
What
if the audit goes through November? What about last year's return or 2 years ago return?
I don't control the IRS. We know the IRS is a messed up organization.
This is the excuse. Let's just get this clear. The Republicans might nominate someone. The Republicans might nominate someone who will use the excuse of an audit, and he's audited every year, not to release his tax return.
We just heard from the tax expert.
Bill, let me
Only
ask you
a moron would release their return.
Hold on, Bill. You said, okay, if he's not going to release what's under audit, release the years before that. Mitt Romney tweeted the same thing, and his way of putting it, Bill, was this: no legit reason Donald Trump can't release returns while being audited, but if scared, release earlier returns no longer under audit. But the irony here, Bill, is that means Romney's asking for more than 3 years, because that's what Donald Trump says he's under audit for. Romney himself only released 2 6 weeks before the election last time. If the last Republican nominee didn't do it, why should Trump?
You know, Mitt Romney lost that election, Aaron. And one reason he lost is that the Democrats beat him up pretty badly for not releasing more of his returns.
No,
maybe the Republicans,
maybe
the Republicans, yeah, and we'll have a weaker candidate with Donald Trump with unreleased tax returns, a phony Trump university for which he'll have to testify in civil suits, the hiring of illegal immigrants. His business background has not been vetted at all. When the Democrats get through with it, he will be a much weaker candidate than Mitt Romney.
And
Bill,
Andy,
we
to
see
Bill's
you're
point,
reading Rubio's talking
Andy,
points,
this
Bill.
is
Nice
not
work.
the first
No,
time.
I'm not actually. I've been saying this before. I wish Marco Rubio. I wish Marco Rubio had said this.
Sad, Bill.
Hold on.
You're right. I wish Marco Rubio had said this months ago when I was saying this.
All right, which is true. Bill has been saying this for quite some time. Andy, I have to say, though, even if you come to Trump's defense, he has been making this excuse or different excuses for quite some time. This is not the first reason he's given for not releasing his taxes. Here's the last couple.
Maybe I'm going to do the tax returns when Obama does his birth certificate.
We'll see what I'm going to do with tax returns. I have no major problem with it, but I may tie them to a release of Hillary's emails.
That's all the way back to 2011. Andy, it seems like it's always some excuse.
Well, I think you're conflating two issues. The real issue is the financial disclosure forms, which Donald released back in June, because that determines his net worth. And that has a disclosure of all the buildings he owns, the golf courses, the television shows. That's what you want to look at. Once you get a tax return, you can take different amounts of depreciation, different amounts of income. It's very complicated. And there's an audit going on. So only a fool and a complete idiot would release the return when the IRS is looking at your books.
So, Bill, I'm curious, though, because the tax expert there just said Marco Rubio's claim that he's not worth what he says he's worth, and we're going to see that in the returns is wrong. You wouldn't be able to tell that from a return. He's also saying you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell charitable donations. What would everybody get from the tax returns coming out specifically, do you think?
Look, I don't know. I don't know that much hinges on it, honestly. And I mean, look, there are reasons. I'd be against Donald Trump if he released his returns, and other people would be for him when he releases returns. So the broader question is, obviously, is Trump the right man to become president? And I do think last night's debate really exposed Trump in a couple of ways. The total lack of knowledge of health care policy, the inability to defend what he did with Trump University, which is a genuine scam and a disgrace. Those are the issues that are going to hurt him going forward, though I think the tax returns is also a fair thing just to say every presidential candidate has released them. Will Donald Trump guarantee that he will release them in a timely way?
Bill, you got the first word. Andy, you got the last.
Aaron, what you're seeing here, yeah, sure, I'll take the last word, is it because Marco Rubio is about to lose very, very badly on Super Tuesday. He's got all of the donor class and the elite class, which Bill Kristol represents, and they're pissed because tens of millions of dollars went down the drain, hundreds of millions of dollars was lost with Jeb Bush, now tens of millions with Marco Rubio. They're losers, the American people are the winners, and Donald Trump's going to win this thing. That's my word.
As you know, there are signals being sent out to Republican senators up for re-election. Feel free to run against Donald Trump. Don't even go to the convention in Ohio if he becomes the nominee. It seems like Republican officials are very worried.
Well, they're worried, but the response is pathetic. 4 states have voted so far. If Mitch McConnell thinks that Donald Trump will be a disaster for the Republican Party, he has access to a lot of huge Republican donors. He could urge them to give money to groups that would go up against Trump in different states. And he doesn't have to commit to Rubio or Cruz or Kasich. He could help Kasich in Ohio. He could help Cruz in Texas. He could help Rubio in Florida. This kind of passivity in the face of what's happened, it was understandable for a while. A lot of us thought, well, he'll fall of his own accord. You know, the bubble will burst. That clearly didn't. It was clear a while ago that wasn't going to happen. It's now clear, but the idea that now people should give up and give idiotic advice, pretend that, well, we can survive, the Republican senators could distance themselves after the convention, that's ridiculous. So people who care need to step up now. There's plenty of time. Even if Trump does pretty well tomorrow, he will have, what, a quarter of the delegates you need to get nominated? 15 states will have voted, 35 plus more still get to vote. People can step up and act instead of sitting around whining.
Bill Kristol this morning, Peggy Noonan said that she believed that she was seeing the shattering of the Republican Party. I want to focus in, though, on what John Heilman and Mark Halperin said in the first segment. You are, I believe, the leader of the loyal opposition. Not so loyal, but the leader of the opposition to this march towards the Trumpism of the Republican Party. What's the smartest move for the Republicans that don't want Trump? Right now, what needs to happen?
Well, first one has to puncture a little bit the bubble of the Trump power worshiping that's been going on here, and the bowing down to Trump and to the voters have spoken.
Who's been doing that?
I'm sorry.
Who's been doing that?
Joe Scarborough, for example.
Okay, can we read your
the voters?
tweets?
No, I've been wrong. I absolutely have been wrong. I have been wrong, and I've totally underestimated Trump, and I apologize. But what percentage of the vote has Donald Trump gotten so far in the Republican primary?
Bill,
wait a second. You say the voters have spoken. You said 3 times in the last. Can I just finish?
You know it doesn't work that way.
I'm sorry, you said 3 times the voters have spoken. Donald Trump has gotten 35% of the votes so far.
Right.
Now, he may well be the nominee. He's more likely to be the nominee than anyone else. You have been analytically right about Trump, and I have been wrong. But I think we are entitled to oppose Trump. We are entitled to oppose Trump. Okay, and the first thing so I'll tell you how we do it in a second. The first thing to say is just analytically is to stop the cascade of, oh my God, the voters have spoken, and say, wait a second. 65% of voters so far have voted not for Donald Trump. 53% of the delegates are not for Donald Trump. If Trump were to lose the nomination, it would not be because the party spurned the voters or the delegates. It would be because the majority of the delegates, as Mark and John pointed out, would have been elected, committed to candidates other than Trump. Now, what has to happen?
Well, no, I got to stop you there. I got to stop you there. I asked you a question you didn't answer, so I need to respond. The fact of the matter is, there's no historical precedent to somebody doing as well as candidate Trump did yesterday to winning New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada, and being stopped. That's never happened before. And as you know, there is a momentum, a forward progress.
Right, so we have to stop the momentum. I totally agree.
So that's my question. Historically, there is no cheering here. I'm again looking at
But again, all of the rules have been broken, as you yourself have pointed out.
I'm looking at facts.
But again, just going even further on this topic, I think about the notion of what Bill's advocating. I think, as you talk more and more to Republicans who want to stop Donald Trump, who will say to you, either privately or sometimes publicly, they would rather vote for Hillary Clinton than vote for Donald Trump. And the people who are going to try to stop him, their attitude is, we know that what would happen at a contested convention if we took the nomination away from Donald Trump with a plurality of the delegates. What would happen is we would likely alienate his supporters and we would likely lose the presidential election. But their position is it would be better for us to lose the election than to have Donald Trump tear the party in half as the nominee. Now, you can say that's suicidal, but that is the posture of a lot of people. And
with one footnote,
their view is that Trump would have huge negative effects down ballot.
So Bill, here's the problem.
And would also lose the election.
2016.
And shouldn't win the election. So, yeah, I agree.
So here's the problem.
Doesn't your third-party scenario make Hillary Clinton president for the next 4, maybe 8 years?
I think Donald Trump's winning the Republican nomination honestly makes Hillary Clinton president for the next 4 years, probably. And I would say there is some chance that third-party person could end up taking off if Trump finally blows up. So I don't. That is the strongest argument against someone doing it. I agree. That will be used.
Bill, I feel like you haven't moved beyond the denial stage of grief yet. But
totally, I'm sticking with denial. I'm sticking with denial.
I understand
that. It's very good for one's psychic health.
I'm more of a never Trump guy. Fred Barnes said, look, if Trump's the nominee, it's not his first choice, but he can accept him, and we should work on improving Trump. And he reported that Trump, for example, has reached out to some conservative legal commentators and lawyers about who should be on his list of possible Supreme Court appointees. Maybe he'll make that list public in the near future. There are things Trump could do that would, I think, win over at least some of the doubters, maybe hit the doubters.
And you, there are things Trump can do to win you over?
For me, it's more of a matter of character, and I don't know that you can change your character at age 69, and given the things he said even very recently about other people and the way he demeans other people. But I mean, I guess never say never. On the one hand, I'll say never Trump, and on the other hand, I'll say never, but never say never, and I'll leave it.
Okay, fair enough.
Ambiguous.
Tweet from Trump critic Bill Kristol. Quote, watching accommodation and capitulation by McConnell, Rubio, one concludes this is the way the GOP ends, not with a bang, but a whimper. And Bill Kristol is editor of the Weekly Standard and joins me now with not a whimper, but a bang. Well, there you go.
We'll see, right?
Tweeting away. So, but then you come to the argument, well, first of all, the hurdles, the money, the filing deadlines, all of that. And then do you risk, from your perspective, electing Donald Trump if you divide the anti-Trump vote between Hillary Clinton and other moderates, independents, right, some Democrats who would, join an independent campaign? You could actually make Trump president.
So on that point, I'd say two things. I think nominating Donald Trump is likely to elect Hillary Clinton, and I don't think Donald Trump should be president. So the argument that, which is the Wall Street Journal editorial, you might hurt Donald Trump, well, fine. I'm not averse to helping stop Donald Trump become president. I would prefer that not result in a Hillary Clinton presidency. So let's have a third choice.
Because I want to set this up for you, and then you can do your little math thing for us, because I get it. I get you've got some wishful thinking here. But first I want to ask you a question. It's the question that Fred Hyatt's asking, and he writes in the Washington Post, Democrats don't celebrate Trump's nomination, fear it. When I hear smart people, Bill Kristol, explaining why Trump cannot win, all I can think is, aren't you the ones who told us he couldn't top 30%, then 40%, then 50% in the Republican primaries? Did you predict his nomination? If not, we don't want to hear your certainty about his November defeat. Nor is it reassuring to read how happy the Clinton camp must be to be facing such a weak opponent. They need to be running scared, smart, but scared. Now and for the next 6 months, I do have the American voter, I really do. But when 2/3 of the country is unhappy, a rational outcome can't be taken for granted. Bill Kristol.
I totally agree. I think the odds are against Trump. I think the odds are that Clinton will actually clobber Trump. But there is a chance he could win, and that would be a bad thing, which is one reason I'm so interested in getting a third choice there.
There's a very good chance he could win.
I don't know, a very good chance, but I think you can imagine events happening, too. I mean, you guys were talking about the debate earlier. Trump, you say, well, he's not disciplined. He has to have message discipline. On the other hand, he's a pretty quick study and a pretty quick reaction. One can imagine in a debate with the programmed Hillary Clinton, and I say this as someone who doesn't want this to happen, but one can imagine Trump hitting having a clever line or two and dominating, and suddenly a lot of Americans deciding, well, maybe he's the guy, especially if the Republican establishment now legitimizes him and normalizes him and makes it seem like, hey, fine, Donald Trump says amazing things, whether it's Ted Cruz's father was involved in the JFK conspiracy theory, or hey, maybe let's devalue the default a little bit on the federal debt.
You can't prepare for this.
Well, but also, no one holds him accountable. His own party doesn't hold him accountable. We in the media don't really hold him accountable.
I don't think that's
It's a one-day story. Well, or we try to, but anyway, he gets away with it. Let's just say that. Whether we try to hold him accountable, he's certainly getting away with it, right?
That's not us, though, and that's not...
And everyone's in this narrative of, the people are frustrated. You can't really hold Trump accountable the way you could a normal politician. If that's the standard going in, and he's willing to attack Hillary Clinton in a way that others won't have, and this is why the meeting with Paul Ryan and with the Senate Republicans is so important on Thursday, as you were saying. If he gets normalized, if a normal voter out there, an independent voter, says, yeah, Trump's a little bit of a wild man, but hey, serious people, Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell, these Republican leaders, my senator, whoever he is, he says he could live with Trump, so I think we get the best of both worlds. You get the kind of wild man who expresses our fears, anxieties, and frustrations, and he picks a respectable VP, and he's got governors and senators saying he's okay. I do fear that Trump could win. That Quinnipiac poll is a little stunning today. The problem for me for Trump isn't that he's destined to lose. The problem is that he might win.
Would you be disappointed, Phil, if someone like Paul Ryan did come around on Donald Trump and normalize him and frankly compromise his own conservative principles?
I mean, he's got a lot of pressures on him as Speaker of the House. Yeah, of course I'd be disappointed. I mean, I really don't think, this is a personal decision people have to make. Do you think Donald Trump meets the minimum requirement to be president in terms of character and temperament? Can he be commander-in-chief? I think that's the core, for me, that's the barrier he doesn't meet. So all the other stuff's sort of irrelevant, what he says about trade, what he says about this and that. If you don't think he should be commander-in-chief, you don't want him to be president of the United States.
You've ever seen in reference to what you were hearing from Paul Ryan today? What has offended you most?
I'm glad to be up here in Boston. It's so depressing as a Republican and a conservative to see Donald Trump making this triumphal procession, pretty triumphal, I think, honestly, through Washington with Republican leadership and of the Republican National Committee in the House and the Senate, basically capitulating to him. Unification means capitulation here. Paul Ryan hasn't endorsed him yet, but he's certainly laid the predicate for endorsement. Others are rushing to get aboard the train. As Chris Matthews said, they now think he might win. They want to be part of a winning team. They've totally forgotten all the objections they made to Trump's fundamental character and judgment.
Trump movement all through this, even though you haven't been able to get a candidate out there. And you just heard Paul Manafort right there echoing what we've heard from Donald Trump. The message is basically, hey, we beat 17 candidates, get over it.
You know, it's watching the interviews with Paul Ryan and Paul Manafort. I've known Paul Ryan for 20 years. I like him very much, and it was painful to watch, I've got to say. I mean, the people who are now rationalizing supporting Donald Trump when they are proud to be representatives of the party of Lincoln, a protege of Jack Kemp, it's going to be a horrible 4 or 5 months for the Republican Party. People do not understand how much damage, from my point of view, Donald Trump will do. Having said that, the other thing I was struck by watching Paul Manafort, they have a clear message. I think people are totally underestimating Trump's chance of winning. That doesn't make me happy. But Manafort, you know, they're going to slough aside all the insults, all the terrible things Trump has said and say, do you want change or not? And if it is only Trump or Hillary Clinton in a change election, you could have a pretty flawed change messenger, and I'm afraid he could win.
Yes.
And that is why my friends in the conservative media like Hugh Hewitt, they should not be giving him lifelines. It's pathetic at this point. He is discrediting conservatism. He needs to be separated and severed from conservatism. And every Republican and conservative who cares about the future of the Republican Party and conservatism needs to say now, I really do believe this, needs to say, we're not with Trump. And people who've supported him, fine. They tried their best. They tried to help him.
Paul Ryan. You're with Hillary?
No, I'm not.
Conservatism?
I'm against both of them.
No,
because
you're
neither,
with Hillary. You're
why
with
am
Hillary.
I with Hillary,
It's a binary
Kelly?
choice.
Oh, come on.
Yes, it is. Two people have a viable chance at the presidency, and those people are Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton.
And neither deserves it.
Forever, when Hillary, if she wins this nomination and appoints liberal justices, we will be asking you why you allowed that to happen.
I'm happy to take that responsibility compared to you. You're taking the responsibility of supporting a man who is utterly unfit to be president of the United States, a man you wouldn't, for a second in your personal life, tolerate, a bully, a man of genuinely bad character. Do you really feel proud to support Donald Trump?
I do.
You don't.
He
You don't.
is a man
You
of
got on
character,
this
and I'm
train.
proud to support
You
him.
hope to do the best. You hope to do the best for him, but you're embarrassed to support him.
I'm not embarrassed to support him. I'm embarrassed of conservatives, people who call themselves conservatives, allowing Hillary Clinton to become president and appoint liberal justices to overturn Heller.
And we're
get rid
responsible
of
for
our
those
Second
polls.
Amendment.
The Weekly
Yes, you are
Stand.
responsible.
Is that right?
You
Wow,
are
we were
responsible.
turning 10, 15 points in Pennsylvania, Colorado, Virginia. The Weekly
are
Standard
indeed
is more
responsible.
powerful than I realized.
I'm going to.
Trump is showing up, or do you think behind the curtain, though there's been nothing official said, there is a Roger Ailes, scheming, figuring this all out?
Well, there's plenty of scheming. I'm sure Roger actually is one of the people talking to Donald Trump, and he'll give him good advice. But I don't know, all 100 million people watching, the presidency on the line, Donald Trump knowing deep in his heart he shouldn't be president of the United States. Maybe Donald Trump will just choke.
Hold on.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Why on earth, let's be honest, do you think that Donald Trump, deep in his heart, thinks he shouldn't be president of the United States?
Insofar as he has a heart, I should say. Because surely he's not a foolish man. He's an intelligent guy. He doesn't know anything about public policy. He's demagogued his way to where he is, pretty skillfully, pretty cleverly. Does he really? He just thought this was just another reality show episode. I do think originally, you know what I mean? This was about.
And you don't think demagoguery has led to people being in positions of massive power?
It has, but most of those demagogues, I mean, unfortunately for the world and for their countries, had real, crazed ambitions for certain ideological things, or even to have power, like Hugo Chavez or something like that. Trump wants to be a celebrity. Does he really want to be president? Anyway, who knows? Look, he'll probably.
Okay.
There's a long shot, but I like the idea of Donald Trump choking before 100 million people on Monday night. It would be a fitting capstone to this presidential year.
Night that would have made anybody change their mind and go back to Donald Trump.
No, but I think something happened that would make some people leave Donald Trump. But I don't like, yes, on style points, Trump was a little better in the first 30 minutes, and he had a couple of clever insults, and she had some insults. But that's not the point. The headline out of this debate is obviously the failure to say ahead of time that you'll accept the results of a democratic election in America. Pretty unprecedented. It doesn't mean that there's going to be violence in the streets. Certainly not if others now say that. Who cares what Donald Trump says?
So what should Republicans say?
He's going to be a failed fluke presidential candidate.
What should Republicans say?
He should be ignored on election night, and Republicans need to say that.
Wait,
and
failed
especially.
fluke?
He won the nomination in a fluky way.
Him and nominated
A fluky
him.
way.
That's not a fluke.
Well, I hope it was a fluke.
He beat like 16 people.
He did, and that's unfortunate.
The Republican Party nominated him.
I agree, and some Republicans have refused to support him, and he's going to lose the general election.
Fluke.
And well, I think it was a fluke in some ways, and in other ways he tapped into some deep anxieties. I mean, he got a minority of the vote.
A fluke is something
he got a minority of the vote. Okay, fine. You can blame the Republican Party. Should feel bad. Does that make you feel better? Does that make you feel better about it?
Yes, you
feel great because the Republican Party nominated a guy who's really a bad guy as president, and you think it's funny and amusing.
No, I actually think Republicans need to come clean on themselves.
Well, thank you.
Including leaders of the Republican Party.
What does come clean on themselves mean?
Just be honest about what's right and wrong. And
well, what's wrong is Donald Trump. This show was very tough. This show was really tough on Trump in late 2015 and early 2016.
We were.
Are you going to pretend that?
We were.
Oh, fine. If that's your way of rewriting history,
you mean when
that's
Joe
fine
went
with
up on
you
him when
guys.
he wouldn't answer a question?
You
mean when we peppered him with
a lot of people
accommodated
accommodated Donald Trump at different times. I think but I'm not going to get into. We don't.
Well, no, you just did. You lied. Please don't come on my air and lie. You said in late 15, in early December 2000. I can't even believe you're doing this. I don't know why you're so bitter.
I'm not bitter. I'm trying to say the Republicans. I'm trying to say the Republicans need to.
You're practically crying.
I am upset about this election. That's right, Joe. But you think it's amusing that Donald Trump is the nominee.
In early December 2015, we compared it to Germany 1933. What he was doing.
Really?
Oh, really? We've got. You know.
And you treated him that way when he called in. Is that right?
Well, yeah, we treated him tough.
You treated him tough. You asked the most tough questions.
We did.
Look, we don't need to get into this.
It's too late. It's too late. You're bitter. You come on here practically crying. We've got it on tape. You're screaming at Mika. You don't even know what she's going to say, which is the same thing that you were going to say, which is, why is Paul Ryan? Why are Mitch McConnell?
That's what I'm going to say.
Why? No, that's what Mika was going to say.
Well,
but
we're in agreement.
Decided, well, then don't attack us.
And
I'm
not
attacking you guys.
The fact of the matter is, the question is, why does Paul Ryan still endorse him? Why does Mitch McConnell still endorse him? Why do all these Republicans still endorse him? It's a great question.
That he can quite win by just letting the damage happen very gradually to Hillary Clinton, assuming nothing, that Comey does not release anything in the next week. So I guess if I were advising the Trump campaign, not my usual mode, but why not? I still think he has to do something to make himself a little more acceptable to the very nervous about Trump swing voters. I said this actually 2 or 3 weeks ago with you. I still think a one-term pledge would make a difference for Trump in a way that it wouldn't for anyone else.
Well, how are you feeling this morning, Bill?
Hey, Bill, what's going on? You from inside straight to an outside straight? We've been talking about the possibilities. What is the state in your mind?
I think Hillary Clinton's ahead. I think in that tweet, I think an outside straight. If you have the 4, 5, 6, 7, if you have the 4, 5, 7, 8, I think getting a 6 or what?
Got it, Bill.
It's 5-card draw. I want to make a few stipulations about that. You don't know any of the other cards. So the odds went down from about 11 to 1 to 5 to 1. If you take that analogy, I think Hillary Clinton's ahead. I think actually she'll win by more than Barack Obama won by in 2012, less than he won by in 2008. If I had to predict, and I could well be wrong, God knows, as I certainly was during the primaries often, but a little more hidden Hillary Clinton vote than hidden Donald Trump vote. You know, I was never Trump, but it turned out never dynasties was really the theme of this election. We think about Donald Trump beat Jeb Bush and beat Hillary Clinton. And whatever one thinks of Donald Trump, but that just changed. I mean, defeating Bush and then Clinton, whatever one thinks of Donald Trump, that's pretty impressive.
Nobody ever heard of this guy. I shouldn't even do this because I built up his name, but he's a real lightweight. His name is Bill Kristol. From day one, this poor guy, I watch him, but here's what I don't understand. Why do you keep putting a guy on television that's been proven to be wrong for so many years? First of all, he wants the war in Iraq. He wants Iraq. All the guy wants to do is kill people and go to war and kill people, even though he knows it's not working, although he doesn't know because he's not smart enough. But it started. And I was against the war in Iraq, let me tell you. And I am a tough cookie, and we're going to have the biggest, strongest, most powerful military, and nobody's going to mess with us. Nobody. Nobody is going to mess with us. But I just happened to see this guy in one of the shows the other day, Bill Kristol. He's got some magazine, I don't even know what the hell it is, and he's saying, oh, we're looking for another candidate. We're looking. He's sweating. And we're looking for another candidate. Here's a guy that said Trump isn't going to run. If he runs, he's not going to do well. He's going to be out by September. You know, he forgot one thing. He forgot to ask my friends, and he forgot to ask the people that know me, because those are the people that said we're going all the way, okay? And I get a kick out of these people. I actually feel sorry for him. He goes, we're still looking for a third-party candidate. We think we're going. He's been doing this for like 9 months. He can't find anybody. What a loser. What a loser. And by the way, I heard his magazine is doing so badly it's ready to fold, so don't bother with him.
Your propaganda is a disgrace to the republic.